Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Mike, too. Don't worry, we actually timed that.
Okay.
Mike's far more interesting to listen to than I am. So, as Aaron mentioned, my name is Jim Copher. I am the Specialty Grains Manager at DeLong Company, as well as the Organic Program Manager at our joint venture, Quality Roasting LLC in Reese, Michigan. And it was about 3 months ago, Aaron and the O-Grain team asked Mike and I kind of what we thought the session would look like. And I think the original idea was we talked about doing prices, price discovery, kind of market projections, and then we decided that's what the Makaris and Jacobson guys are for, and they'll give a far better projection than what we can, and you can criticize them later when they're wrong. Instead, we wanted to focus more on risk management. Mike talked a lot about it, great wealth of wisdom. That first and foremost, the best risk management you can do is communication. Just always be communicating to your buyer, your seller, whoever it is. If there's an issue, something needs to change, whatever it is, that's the best thing you can do at any time. So, that being said, I have 3 other points I wanted to touch on here. In addition to being a better speaker, Mike is also better at PowerPoint, apparently, than I am.
It's just a clicker.
Right. Mike, how'd you do this?
This one right here.
Ah, there we go. All right, so these are the 3 I wanted to touch on that I see not necessarily the most issues with, but also miscommunications on, is your contract specifications, your discount schedule, and your payment. As growers, if you can keep track of these 3 things, I guarantee you're laying off anywhere from 60% to 70% of your marketing risk in a situation. Your contract specs, that's going to make up what you're guaranteeing to your buyer, what you're going to deliver on. And that's very important, regardless of if it's a food or feed grade crop or whatever you're trying to forward contract there, and quantity as well, what you think your growing conditions are going to look like for that year, and hopefully giving them a conservative perspective of that. The other one we'll go into is discount schedules. That's another big one where I don't see growers, or even, and not just on the grower end too, resellers, buyers too, looking at discount schedules hard enough. Seeing, hey, what is going to happen if I deliver 52 test weight corn? What's that going to look like? How's that going to affect my bid versus my next best market? And then a big one that the industry has been, well, it's always been there, but a little more the last couple of years, is payment. When am I going to get paid? How am I going to get paid? And so on. So that being said, we'll launch into the first one, which is contract specifications. So food versus feed, that is the biggest one I see here is, nothing against all the growers in the room. Everyone thinks they have food grade corn. They don't. There. And that is such a subjective term. So for example, DeLong's is a food grade corn program. I look at US #1 corn, 56 test weight, and I could say that's food corn and see that the stress cracks on it are below 30%. That's food grade corn for DeLong's. Well, you might get to another food grade buyer like Clarkson, Anderson's, maybe Grain Millers, and they might say, hey, we need the stress cracks to be 10, 15% there. So food grade is different depending on who your buyer is. And it's important to clarify with them what are the grade factors that are going to dictate food versus feed. What happens if your grain is out of spec? That's going to go back into the discount schedule, but
Sure, it might be with the computer syncing up.
oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not your fault. It's bizarre that this isn't. I'll restart it. We just, sorry about that. This happened last night as well.
Come on, guys, we're on a schedule. You got to tell me if it's on the wrong slide.
Oh, it's got all hung up for some reason. Oh, okay. Weird. Okay. It's not.
Okay, I'll just control.
Okay, all right. you-
That works better.
Okay.
Anyway, there. Okay, moving along here. So on, this actually isn't on the right one. Okay, so where's the next closest market if my grain doesn't make spec? You know, does my buyer accept food grade corn if it meets 54 test weight? Where does it go? Do they have a feed grade program it can go to? Do I have to drive it 300 miles to the next near mill? There, things that you need to have sorted out beforehand, because it more likely there's a chance it's going to happen. And these are the conversations you need to have with these buyers, is the ugly conversations of saying, hey, what's going to happen if this doesn't go as planned? It's a lot better to have that from the start rather than at the end when it's happening there. So have that sorted out. Another big one is, what are the costs associated with not meeting contract obligations due to the grain not meeting contract spec? It's different buyer to buyer. With DeLongs, a lot of times we'll straight cancel the contract or we'll take it as a feed grade at a discount. Some buyers might want you to obligate those bushels, whether it's you buying them from another producer, from another company, or maybe you paying a cancellation fee on the contract. It all depends. It's buyer to buyer. Neither is right or wrong, but it's something you need to clarify. Delivery period. We do a lot of buyer's call contracts at DeLong's. Can I hold my grain in condition long enough to meet a buyer's call that might be out to July? There, and if you can't, it's something, or if you start to see it go out of condition, that's something to definitely bring up. Be able to perform a buyer's call, and here's the big one: truck delays. Whether it's your delivery or the buyer picking up, when's my grain going to get picked up, and what are we going to do when it doesn't happen on time? You know, if you're delivering and there's only 2 weeks left on the contract, I'll probably going to get a call, and we're probably going to offer to pick it up at a discount and charge you the freight difference there. Or vice versa, maybe we're having trouble getting a truck out to you, and you have a neighbor who can haul it, and we'll have to add that premium back to your contract. Or maybe you're just having slight delays and you just need another month. These are all things to communicate with your buyer, preferably not the last day or two of your contract, preferably maybe a week or two before the end of it, and definitely not past the contract due date. The next one. Well, this is having issues again here, so I'm just going to talk here. So also discount schedules. That's the next thing, is going over your discount schedule. What are the discounts going to be from, you know, food grade to feed grade, or 54 to 52 test weight corn? These are all things you need to have sorted out beforehand as well. Okay.
Sorry about that.
And it's also important for your grain bid too. You know, we might have, Cashins to the north of us. They might be bidding 50 cents less than DeLong's, but the DeLong discount schedule might be more aggressive. They're going to 52 test weight corn versus Cashins 52 test weight. Well, in that case, Cashins might be your better market. So it's a very important thing to have established and to also look into. Shrink. That's another one. I get that call on a lot of settlements. Someone not looking at the shrink schedule, understanding that, having that conversation. And then the rejection limits, that one too. You know, DeLong's, for the most part, we will take just about anything. Our service in the industry on our feed grade side is we're a rail shipper. So more often than not, we can blend off most issues. There's a couple we won't touch, such as corn purity and then aflatoxin. We typically don't try and blend those two, but everything else, FM, damage, is something we can usually handle. So it's good that clarified as well. Okay, good, it's working now. All right, so moving on here, payment. What's the payment process look like? When will I be issued my payment? Is it going to be load after load at the end of the contract? What's that going to look like there? Can I review the discounts before sending payment? That's something I highly encourage most growers to do. there's a lot of horror stories, not with DeLong's, but with other companies where I've heard of growers trying to get payments back after discounts have already been issued. And it's a lot easier to have that conversation right before they send the check than after they send it and trying to get them to issue one. So I would highly encourage, if you know you're about ready to get a check, call your buyer and ask them, hey, what's my settlement going to look like? Can I review it before you send it, just so we can make sure we're all on the same page? And then a big one that we've been promoting is ACH payment. Not all buyers want to do ACH payment. We highly encourage it, and I would highly you to seek out markets that will do it. It's very easy. I hate getting calls about where's my check when it's been in the mail for like 2 weeks. I have no control over the post office, so ACH goes next day, takes care of all of that. I highly encourage look for that. The big one is payment reliability now too. Won't name companies or get into that, but I think we all know. There's been a handful that have had some real issues with payment reliability in the past that are now no longer in business. And how are you supposed to account for that? Well, the easiest one, first off, is word of mouth. Do you know people who have been paid by this company before and have not had any issues? So that'd be a good start. Some odd ones to look at, that is their organic certificate. Is it in good standing? Can they sell? That doesn't necessarily go into saying they're a strong financial company, but if they are trying to buy organic grain and they don't have a certificate to sell it, it's probably a red flag. Why are they buying organic grain if they can't resell it afterwards? So, issue. Any major lawsuits? Do you Google their name and you see, hey, they owe XYZ company $50 million there, or they owe a cooperative another $50 million there that they have to pay up? That's probably a little bit of a red flag in that. Like Mike mentioned, bond or dealer's license. Do they have a grain dealer's license? Again, not all states require it. Some states are more stringent than others, but that is a big factor. In Wisconsin, for example, if DeLong's having a grain dealer's license, one of it is we get audited every other month, and then also we have to pay within 7 days or have a check sent out then. So that's a big factor with your payments there, is see if they have a grain dealer's license there. And then just continuing on, any other public information that might be out there. You see on chat forums they're behind on payments, any other lawsuits, and so on. So that goes into most of the risk management. We did say we would do one slide for marketing, so I'm going to keep this one brief because, again, I'm not the Macaris or the Jacobson reporting agency. I'm going over what DeLong's is seeing in our rail market, which is primarily what we do is organic rail. And right now what we're seeing, the big one is organic soybeans, which I think is one everyone's interested in. All of our rail cars go out to Pennsylvania. It's one of the deepest markets for organic grain, right next to California, Missouri, and Texas there. And right now it's very full nearby. There's a lot of no bids for now up until new crop. And we even have some of our customers offering to resell the soybeans back to us because they're so full there. So I would say it's a very bearish outlook on organic soybeans nearby, and I would say deferred. Going into organic soybeans again, and the meal, organic soybean oil premiums have been greatly reduced to the point of trading at conventional prices or slightly above. This was compared to a year ago where the premium was easily 10 to 20 cents a pound. Meal prices, again, also very steady, flat or slightly declining in some markets. So all fairly bearish signs for organic soybeans. I know it's not what anybody wants to hear, but this is the information we have today. Do with it what you will. But there is the new crop food grade premiums. I have seen some very strong premiums versus feed grade. I've seen some food grade premiums that are anywhere from $6 to $10 above food grade prices. So again, this is a viable avenue, looking at doing more food grade beans or corn, whichever one you're doing. But again, that goes back to the risk management portion. Please pay attention to your contract specs, anything else. Organic corn, PA market again, very full nearby, showing declining bids for deferred months May forward. We saw this last year as well. This is one or two reasons. One, they just have too much corn to deal with right now and they don't want to think about buying more. Or they're very confident in the supply further out. They're going to continue declining their bids. And then organic wheat, that's the only market that we've seen lately that seems like it's going up. So we've seen almost $1 improvement on the organic wheat market for our rail bids. Here, we expect that to continue to grow as long as the food grade demand for wheat. And then, real quick, I think we only got a few more minutes left. Along with NFO, DeLong's also was rewarded the Climate Smart Commodity Grant. We'll be receiving $40 million over the course of 5 years. For our program at DeLong's, these are the 4 areas we are focusing on, which is tillage management, cover crop, nutrition management programs, and windbreaker establishments. And here's a quick slide on the idea right now. The program will be released in March once all the final approvals are done with the USDA, but here's a quick snippet of what those premiums are going to look like. And then wrapping it up, here is Matt Woods' information for our program. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to him. If you want to take a picture or write down this information, I'll leave this slide up. The last slide is just a thank you slide, so we'll go back to that one. Matt, and I'll hand it back off to Aaron.